More Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Where should the franchise go? Next up on Just the Talk. So, let's talk about it. And welcome to the Flicks, Picks, and the Nitpicks. And I am your humble host, No718, and we are going to get into the TMNT talk. Because we know there's more coming. But where should the franchise go? Let's keep it real. There is no TMNT movie more prominent, more influential than the original one that came out in either 89 or 1990. Excellent film. Jim Henson's Warehouse did a fantastic and phenomenal job bringing these characters that came from the cartoons and the comic book reels to life. And the story was a beautiful blend of the cartoon and the comic book. Now in the cartoon, Amato Yoshi was Splinter as opposed to being Splinter's pet. In the movie, she was Splinter's pet. In the comics, or at least, in the animated series, Splinter was Amato Yoshi. In the comics, I'm not exactly sure because I didn't read the Mirage comics, at least when it initially came in. After the cartoon, I came in on the cartoon and the toys, and then I read everything else that came after that. Not everything else, but if I picked up a comic with the Ninja Turtles in it, it was really more in the tradition or the vein of the animated series. Now, if you look at the intro was kind of drawn a little bit more to the liking of the comic book in terms of the intensity of the opening scene. Not opening scene, opening credits, if you will, the intro. Which begs to differ. Which direction would you go with the TMNT now? They tried to do it with Nickelodeon, and if you ask me, I think the idea was after they seen the Avengers and they seen what the Hulk, the way people attach themselves to the Hulk character, I think they looked at it as, well, we could do, what about 4 green little motherfuckers? Nickelodeon was like, we already got 4 green motherfuckers. Why don't we make a bunch of little Hulks? And that's what they did. And if you ask me, for what the Nickelodeon did with the 2012 series, which was a phenomenal, it was more like a dramedy, if you ask me. Like, some of the writing was just like top tier, and the animation, even in the beginning, it took me a minute to get kind of used to this 3D Flash type of animated style, but the style became a character of itself, and then I just loved it. I'll be honest with you, even with the big Popeye forearms and calves, I could see people do a film based in what they did there. And make no mistake, that was just nostalgia fodder for any true TMNT fan. There were so many nods to the movie, whether it was voice actors, to the animated series, to the comics. You may even say it couldn't have nodded at the 2000 series, because I liked that series as well. It was actually really good. So where would you take the franchise? What could you do different with the movie? Now, it'd be easy to say let it continue up to 89, but they won't no longer be teenagers, so you want to keep it in the realm of that. I think they need to really look at what the original movie did and look at the Nickelodeon series for what they did. They really made you believe they were kids. That's what they need, teenagers in particular. I think they really need to zero in on the teenager aspect of it, and employ some coming of age, but make the hook still very much about and rooted in being a ninja, being out of the shadows, but growing up like kind of all alone, just the 4 of you guys in the New York City sewer system, and really like deal with that. I think that's the direction they should go. I don't think you would want to continue off of anything else that had already existed, because we already know what people will do. They'll say start from part 2 or 1 and omit Turtles in Time, that part 3 that they did. But it's been years later. They're not teenagers. They'll be like middle-aged mutant turtles. You know what I'm saying? So what could we do different? And I think what we need to do is if we're going to do live action, get back to the animatronics. Go back to Jim Henson's warehouse and see what you could do. What they did with the film series in what was it, 2012, the movie, or 2014. And there's some elements that wasn't bad, but one, they instead of making, they overly tied their creation to April O'Neil's like backstory, and I didn't think that was needed. April O'Neil should be totally autonomous. Her life with those turtles should begin from the very beginning, moving forward when she meets them after they save her from a mugging. I don't think we would need to have this weird as, oh, they were my pets. Nah, I think they should be random anomalies that should not have existed, but now they do. I think they could employ some body horror elements when it comes to them transforming, if you will. And because they're coming from animal growing into something anthropomorphic, I think it will look dope. Now, if you're going to say Hamato Yoshi turned into a rodent, I think that would be a little bit hard to accomplish, saying that the same mutagen grew them up. You'd have to try to figure out the science behind it. And make no mistake, if you may not need to, but once you start bringing it into the real world and you're trying to make it even more believable, you will need to bring in those and employ those sci-fi aspects, if you ask me, just to keep them grounded in reality. Get rid of that mini Hulk idea. They don't have to be big, huge Hulks, because that was one thing that hindered them from before. They were so big, it was like they don't really need to be ninjas. Like, they just kick somebody's whole chest out and they be good. They were smacking up against vehicles with their fucking turtle shells. It made no sense. I get trying to make them super, and in a way they kind of are, but you're not supposed to make them to the point where they look like they're the villains. They look like the bad guys, bulletproof. They're just huge for no reason. Why you needed to be ninjas? Even just for Shredder to battle them, he had to jump in a big mech suit. It's just not gonna work. The direction the franchise really needs to do is to do a vast overhaul of whatever they're trying to accomplish, and really just start from scratch and start from the 2012 series and really lean into the comics, and most importantly the original film, because the original film was dark but still funny, still had a lot of heart, had serious moments, and it was a very believable film, and I think that's what made the original one hold up so well. It's so believable. I remember even when they tried to show like dampness on the skin, like they were sweating. I mean, I really loved what they were trying to accomplish with the original film, that they need that type of creativity and thoughtfulness to be employed when they try to resurrect this franchise. Now, I am familiar that somebody is out there is working on one that's supposed to be a 3D animated one, but an up-to-date movie would have to be a reboot. And I would, like I said again, I would go and employ Jim Henson's like warehouse or whatever the hell that production company is, and we would have to get to work ASAP. And then employ some CG elements to make certain things just kind of fit. But I would try my best to keep it grounded in reality, in great in-camera shots and trick work. I think too much people lean into CG so much that then they make it a CG fest. Hence why the Nickelodeon variation that came out in the 2000s, even though the first one was successful, the second one just wasn't. They lost sight of what they needed, and they didn't create the bad guys to be at a challenge to them when they're so hulking and huge. So it would just, every fight scene would have been just a bunch of ninjas trying to take down one turtle, and the turtle could just pick him up. It doesn't even need to do karate. It just needs to be a good grabber. Grab him and light his ass up. Y'all are so big, y'all probably bust his head open like a cantaloupe. One good punch. Feel me? But what do you guys think in the comments below? Are you excited for the newest rendition edition of TMNT films that's supposed to be coming out? I believe, hold on a second. And it's Seth Rogen that's bringing back the TMNT, and it's supposed to be a CG film from what I understand. And it's interesting to see that Seth would take a fondness to it, but at the same time, I'm not surprised because he's of that genre where he was a kid that had this deep love and affinity for the Ninja Turtles. It wouldn't be far-fetched if that's the reason why he gravitated towards it, outside of just having an interesting story to tell. But I'm really curious, what stories are there left to tell? Do you know any arcs you're interested in seeing in the book? There's so much media that they could employ so many little bit of things that pre-exist already to create this brand new film, if you will, that could kind of take the Turtles in another direction. Or rather, not so much another direction, but like make it fresh, make it new, make it exciting, make it something that we haven't exact seen that way before when concerning the Turtles. And I think that would be the direction that I would lead in. Tell the story all over again from the very beginning if you like, and start it from there. Or you could do a montage of them getting older and we get to it real quick, and maybe something in his back history will make them revisit again. Would I bring Shredder into the original one? I may have his presence like very much close by, but I probably would save Shredder for the second film or maybe the third. You know, make the first one like Hun that he has to beef with, then second one Rosie, not Rosie, like maybe make I don't know, who would you make the villain? I would make Shredder kind of presence known, but possibly not have him show up until like the second or the third film. Maybe the second film they'll fight like Bebop and Rocksteady. Make I don't know, Hun. Yeah, Hun be the bad guy of the first one. The second one make Bebop and Rocksteady the bad guys in that one, and the third one we enter the Shredder, and we can save Krang down the line. Hint at Krang. I mean, and really make it very much like a tight, nice practical film. We'll bring in the CG to do some extreme fight scenes, that just to show that these turtles are kind of super, but they're still kids. So things are still a challenge. They're not invulnerable. They're very much vulnerable in a lot of different ways. If you even when you want to get past the physical, so it'll make it more of a challenge for these characters, if you will, especially heighten the risk level when you watch the film, as opposed to them being just these big mini hulks. If you just shoot at them, it's just like you throwing rocks at a brick wall, pebbles at a brick wall, you know what I'm saying? But that's just my 2 cents. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Are you excited for a new rendition of the TMNT? Are you excited that Seth Rogen is going to be the one ushering in this new franchise? Are you in agreement with me and where I think the franchise should go to, or the pace it should go in? Leave it all in the comments below. You already know what it is. Like, share, subscribe. See you next time. And as always, till I have a better outro, chill.